Another episode of How I Discovered My Gift with yours truly. And I'm excited to have Cynthia Dieyi on the show today. Cynthia Dieyi founded the Content Clinic to help businesses and entrepreneurs escape the abyss of dead end content and develop content strategies that bring in profits. As an award winning Hollywood producer, Cynthia leverages storytelling techniques to give the people she works with a significant edge over their competitors. In 2020, she was able to grow her IG page from 0 to 10,000 followers in under 100 days, which is supremely rare. Within that time, she also grew her first coaching business to 5 figures in under 2 months, and she hasn't looked back since. Cynthia subsequently created the content to client conversion system, a framework that has helped other businesses increase their profits through content strategy by over 50% in less than a month of application. Her systems rely on the core values that she brings true to her heart, and she's going to share dearly. I know we're going to go into values of purpose, service, and authenticity. Thank you for coming and being on the show. Truly appreciate that, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I know it's going to be good.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. So Cynthia, let's start at the journey in the journey from where you are. I know you have been a producer in the space in the Hollywood realm, and you also today are a coach, a business coach, and a strategist, and so many different elements. So take us through the journey from childhood to
Woo!
today.
From childhood. From childhood, I was born very creative, and I feel we are all born creative. Some of us lose that creativity to the world as we grow up. But I was born very creative, and I feel mine is like in my DNA because it came directly from my mom. And my mom, one of the e- early memories I have of her was literally sketching by hand the whole catalog of like different models and different poses with different outfits on. And so she one of the ways in which she expressed her creativity was through fashion design. So I take after my mom in many ways. We're both Pisces as well. We're born in the month of March. And I'm your typical, I guess. I was born very sensitive, very reserved. And I feel like sometimes the world doesn't know how to handle that. The world doesn't know how to handle the world is not the way the world operates these days is not for people who are born that way. And especially when and so that's scary to many people, especially parents who want you to be protected and taken care of. And so growing up, I remember, a lot of what I was taught was how to toughen up and toughen up because the world, wouldn't embrace or cuddle or accommodate my sensitivity. But I was always creative. My parents were very supportive of my creativity from when I was little. And the first thing I remember wanting to be, oddly enough, is I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. But
Hmm.
now when I look back, I'm like, no. Like I could never imagine myself as a lawyer. But I think, even before I formed a sense of self, before I developed a sense of self, I feel like the world had already started to project what it thought I should be on me. And so I grew up thinking I wanted to become a lawyer. And David can probably relate with this, but when you come from Africa, right, where Nigerian family, Nigerian home, where like there are very limited ideas of what people can become when they grow up: doctor, accountant, lawyer, engineer, or as the joke goes, disappointment, right?
There it is.
So thankfully my parents weren't like that though. They always just wanted to support whatever we wanted to do. So I explored a lot. What that meant was that I explored a lot. There was a time when I thought I was going to be in the WNBA. I played basketball extensively. I played for the FCT team, which is the capital of Nigeria. I played semi-pro for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Yep,
Amazing.
the WNBA, all that stuff. But the creativity kept calling me back, right? And so after I graduated, I studied communications and multimedia for my master's, for my bachelor's. And then after I graduated, a professor of mine at the time like handpicked me from college to come work for his production company. And that's how I went into the film industry. And after that, then I did my NYSC, and then I applied for a master's to several, universities in the United States, including Columbia, the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, got into all of them. I got accepted to Columbia. Columbia didn't offer me money to study though. USC did. So I went to USC.
Nice.
So I went to USC on a full ride scholarship. I was even
Wow.
paid a stipend, right? And I was what they call a graduate assistant. So I was paid to study at USC pretty much for 2 years, and I
Mm.
studied strategic public relations. That was my master's degree. Before that, I studied at the University of Oxford too. It was just like a 1 year stint in philosophy and English. So I'm very well studied.
Yeah.
But again, the creativity kept calling me, right? So even after I graduated from USC, the film industry called me back. And so I worked as a producer in a small boutique production company where they mainly focused on adventure reality type TV shows. So big wave surfing, wingsuits flying, drift car driving, all that kind of stuff. And it was like, look at this like Nigerian girl like working on shows for surfers, and I didn't even know how to surf, right? But it was very interesting experience. One that taught me that I'm a fast learner because I really had to learn really fast on the job. And I remember while I was on that job, I got promoted. I started out on that job as an executive assistant to the CEO.
Mm.
Within 2 months, I was promoted to a production coordinator. Within the next 3 to 4 months, I was promoted to supervising producer of the entire company. So I went from executive assistant of the CEO to supervising producer, like literally third in command of the company because they had two VPs in 6 months. So I learned fast, grew fast, got promoted fast. And then, I realized though that the Hollywood lifestyle, and I'm not one to demonize the Hollywood lifestyle. I know that a lot of it's, especially in like spiritual circles, like there's a lot of demonization of Hollywood. For me, my reasons were I just thought it wasn't for me. The and it might relate to the concept of my sensitivity, the idea that I'm a sensitive person or whatever that is, but it just wasn't for me. It was too cutthroat. So I quit my job without a plan and left Los Angeles, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I live now, and literally started picking myself up again, right? I got a couple of jobs within my first couple of months in Atlanta. I was able to lock in a 5-figure contract and this was right before the pandemic hit. So I locked in a 5-figure contract that gave me some sort of, financial comfort for the time being while I wanted to figure out while I look to figure out exactly what I want for myself. And right after I locked in that contract, like everything went to like pretty much the pandemic hit in full force. And I remember when I first started fulfilling that contract, it was a contract to create a course for a company. And when I first started fulfilling that contract, I was supposed to be fulfilling that course through video. When the pandemic hit and lockdown started, we weren't allowed to film anymore. So I literally just moved into animation. It was a one-man operation. Like I did everything, animation, filming, everything. And at the end of that contract, I'd produced 120 course videos in less than like 2 months or something like that. Um, Almost killed me though. Never gonna do it again. I was losing so much sleep, David.
Can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, but I did that. And then, the pandemic hit. I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do for myself. That's when I started to share my expertise online, social media, all that stuff. And then I realized that there are people who wanted this stuff, and the signs were just there in the amount of people that were following me on a daily basis. I remember one of the pivotal points in my journey was there was a specific time I used to share my post every day on that journey. And I hadn't shared a post at the time. At the same time, I always share a post that day, and someone DM'd me and they're like, "Oh, aren't you gonna post today?" I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is not about me and just putting my expertise out there anymore. There are people out there who actually look forward to what I have to say. And so that's when I got the idea that there might be something in this for me. And so rather than just, get on this journey and grow my following, I started to use my skills to help other business owners because it was attracting a lot of people, right? And I remember the only thing I had on my Instagram page at the time I was growing was my 15-minute discovery call link on my free Calendly account, right? And that's where I got my first client.
Mm.
I got a client after that and one after that. And I was quickly able to build a 5-figure business in record time. And then after that, you asked for the whole story, David. So I'm telling you the whole story.
Yes, please. That's what I want. I
And
want the
then
whole. That's
and
good.
then after that, on my journey, I wasn't aware that there were this group of people who had been observing me, 8-figure entrepreneur and everything. And so she reached out to me and asked me to come coach in her coaching um, business. And I was skeptical at the time because I just gotten burned out and burned in Hollywood and quit that, and um, I wasn't looking to rehash that experience. But I remember saying, what, let's try this out for 3 months. If it works out, we'll continue. If it doesn't, then I'm out. Tried out for 3 months. It worked out for 3 months, and then she invited me to help her start an agency. And then that was what I did for most of last year. And we were able to build a seven-figure agency in less than 90 days.
What?
So yeah, so that was pretty cool too. And then again, the ongoing theme in my story has been that no amount of money or shiny objects or glitter can is worth my purpose, my destiny, and my dignity and my values. And so whenever those things start to get threatened, I'm not afraid to leave that situation. And so I quit that situation. When it started threatening, I quit that situation. I left the company that I built to seven figures. I helped build to seven figures in less than, you know, 90 days behind, and I'm doing my own thing again. And my whole thing right now, and the people who I really want to reach with my message right now, are people who are similar to me, similar temperaments, who feel like they have no choice but to stay in certain situations to make money, right? It might be a job that's ridding you of your purpose. It might be a situation that is threatening your values, a job situation that's threatening your values. But you
Mhm.
feel like you have to be there because that's what the world has told you have to do. I have to stay here. I have to make a salary. I have to do this. I have to do that. My message, the message that you're the people I want to reach with my message now, is letting you know it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to compromise yourself. You don't have to compromise your values. You can make money on your own, right? Because even after I quit that job December 2nd, and by the end of January 2023, I'd already doubled my monthly earnings from that job. So it's like all my experience before that of quitting jobs and quitting situations that threatened my dignity and my purpose before that came into play. And this is the quickest I've ever recovered from quitting a situation. So yeah, I think that's the whole story. That's where we are now.
Amazing, amazing. There's so many pieces I want to go back to, but we're going to come back to a lot of different points. But one thing I think when we first connected, I said, "Wow, I admire your stance for your values. You lead with your values. You live in a world where people are willing to put the values to the side for money, or put the values to the side for fame, or this thing or that thing." And you said, no, that's going to lead. I don't care what it is. I'm going to, so we're going to step into that a little bit later. But when you think about all of your journey, when you think about your life, just looking at yourself, what is your most dominant gift, Cynthia?
The ability to create. And that's definitely my most dominant gift, without a doubt. And I've realized most recently that it's not just creativity in terms of marketing strategies or content strategies. It struck me recently that I literally have the ability to create the life that I want for myself,
Mm,
put things in
mm,
place in my life to make it work for me. So
mm,
what comes to mind, even as I say that right now, is I remember when I first moved in here. I moved in here into my apartment where I live right now in the middle of the pandemic. And so I sort of like, I literally panic moved out because I had a roommate and I was like, this is not time to be living with someone whose, hygiene standards are not where yours is, and stuff like that. So I like literally panicked and I moved out. But I've quickly built a comfortable home that I love and I'm happy to be in. And and people don't pay attention to things like this, but that's literally the brain that God has given me, where I pay attention to every single thing. And one of my slogans right now, personal slogans, is I'm designing my dream life, like literally putting every single thing in place, down from when I want to wake up, when I want to go to sleep, when I want to read, when I want to take courses, every single bit of my life. I'm in a position and I am designing every day to work for me.
mm.
And I feel like we all have that gift. We all have that ability to literally design the life we want for ourselves. But like I said, we live in a world that feeds us a lot of external information that makes
Yeah.
us suppress our own power and our own ability to design what we want for ourselves. So,
That's beautiful. I love that. Wow. We should all glean and learn from that, designing our lives. So, when did you realize? I mean, I know it comes as a progression,
mhm.
but when did you realize this?
the designing my dream life part was, I would say, about less than a year ago, um,
Mm,
between 6 months to a couple of months ago. And I think I was in a point where I was already considering quitting my job, the 7-figure agency that I helped build. And I say job, like I was literally tricked into accepting that job because it was presented to me as a partnership. And so when you say something, when you think about the word partnership, you feel like you have some power. You feel like you can make some calls. Um, you can call some shots. It turned out that that wasn't what was being offered, and I quickly found that, girl, like you just got another job, and I was like,
mm,
what happened?
mm,
So I was starting to consider quitting that job, and again, I'm a very honest person. It is scary to make certain decisions. It's not like it's always come easily, but I remember I was ruminating over, like this isn't what I signed up for. It's turned out not to be what I signed up for. My values are being threatened here. The value I put in people are being threatened here. The value I put in empathy and kindness, all that's being threatened here. And I was starting to consider all that. And again, those fears were there. And that fear that came to me, that that was the thought that came to me in the middle of those fears was, you have the power to design the life you want for yourself. God has
mm,
given you the gift of creation. That creativity doesn't just apply to content or to movies or to whatever. You can literally create from the ground up everything that you want your life to. So
mm,
that was what I told myself at the time to encourage myself to make the move. It was one of the things I told myself, like, look how far you've come, right? Look how far you've come. Look at what you've conquered. So
mm,
you literally, God has given you the ability to create. We are created in the image of God. God is the ultimate creator. We all have the ability to create the life for ourselves. If only we would leave fear behind and tap into that ability.
that's beautiful. So going back, taking knowing that, and then taking this back to childhood, where do you see this pattern interrupt in through your life?
Pardon of creativity.
Yes.
So I was one of those kids who would like tinker with the VCR players and stuff, like the video
Hmm.
game players. Like, so yeah, that's one example, right? So as a kid, of course, like you find different ways to apply creativity. I was in dance groups. I remember my first ever dance like exhibition. I was like two. I was like 2 years old for my first ever like dance exhibition. Lord knows what I was dancing to, but I was dancing, right? um
Hmm.
I was in dance groups. I remember being very into technical class because technical class allowed us to create, certain, like, there was this hexagonal shapy thing I created at the time. It just blew my mind. Like, I used like glow stick gum and stuff like that to create it. What else did I do? I used to sketch a lot. A lot of my friends who I went to college with would do like sketching competitions, and we have all these like sketch anime, sketch, like cartoons, comic books. I used to be super into comic books. Still am, that child that remains an adult, remains in every adult, is still drawn to like comics and cartoons and all that stuff, right? So yeah, so that creativity has always been there in so many different ways. I still love to sketch, even if I when I find the time, right? But now the most prominent way that it shows itself or manifests itself is through my work with the people that I work with, helping them create marketing strategies, helping them put things in place to create the lives they want for themselves. In a nutshell, that's it.
Wow,
Yeah.
beautiful. So, talk to us about this creativity, because I think when people hear the word creative, you kind of mentioned it. You put things in a box. Oh, creative means you're only an artist,
Mhm.
or you're only this, or you're only that. But looking and listening to your life, you've just been an extension of creativity in multiple forms, from writing and producing, from dancing and sketching, to content creation, and even the creativity of running and building a 7-figure agency. So this, what do you say to people that box creativity into what? How do you define it?
I think
Into.
creativity is basically your ability to bring to life something that didn't exist before.
Mm,
So whatever that is, whether it's a business idea, right? That's creativity at play. if you lean into that creativity, you'll be able to gather the resources that you need to bring that business idea to actual like tangible life, right? And creativity, I feel like functions in where it comes to humanity, it functions in collaboration. The creativity of humanity functions in collaboration. The only being that doesn't need to function in collaboration, of which some ancient understandings will tell you that it does function in collaboration, is God, right? So we talk about the different representations of God. For Christians, it's the Spirit, the Son, the Father, right? For other, wisdoms, it's something else, right? But as people, I feel like creativity functions in collaboration. So we're all God body, and God has placed some form of His creativity in different ones of us, right? And we're all each unique, and we need to collaborate to create, right?
Mm,
So if your creativity, for instance, David, manifests as a business idea, you might need someone like me, for instance, to help you be the bridge between your idea and the people who need that thing that you have, which is the marketing, right? The content
mm,
strategy, right? So, but yeah, in a nutshell, I feel like creativity is your ability to bring something to life that didn't exist before. Whether you are collaborating with people to bring that thing to life, that's resourcefulness, right? It's still creativity, it's still infinite intelligence functioning in you, letting like, for instance, again, I recently left that job and I've been working as a one man army. And then recently it occurred to me that you can't do this as a one man army for the long term. I'm starting to build my team. That's part of creativity, bringing a team together, bringing a solid team together that's going to help me, give me more room to serve with what I do with my gifts at a higher level. That's creativity itself. Moving into a new house, buying a couch of a specific color, putting up lights in your apartment, putting up the LED light. That's creativity. That thing didn't exist before then. The people who created the LED light, that's their own form of creativity. The person who
mm,
created my iPhone, that's his own form of creativity. You know what I mean?
yeah.
People who create cars, that's their own form of creativity, right? That's infinite intelligence literally inspiring them to create something that will help further humanity somehow. So,
Mm.
yeah.
That's so freeing. You just freed a lot of people today because I think they just put creativity in a box. You just took creativity and just unboxed it and helped a lot of people. So, um, I want to go back to the seven figure agency, and then I want to also come back to Hollywood, and then there's a couple places I want to go to.
Nice.
So 90 days building an agency to seven figures in 90 days, that is not normal,
Mhm.
right? And the type of creativity that I had to take and the collaboration, can you talk and walk through that experience?
Mhm.
And that experience, I want to go into the experience itself. There's three things. I want to go to the experience itself. I want to go into the values that made you leave,
Mhm.
and then how you've been able to parlay that into your content business.
So the experience itself was just, again, I feel for me, it was a testament to the value of creativity in general, and collaborative creativity. Because most of the clients we got within those first couple of months were from connections, were from relationships that were already established, right? So one person has a connection with this person, and this person says, "Hey, work with this company. They do that." Like just a network of connections, right? So that's great connections. Is that how that came to life? And then there was the fulfillment on the back end again, which is, like I said, is collaborative creativity. Great connections, that's collaborative creativity. And then there was a fulfillment of everything, on the back end, and bringing those clients in, making sure you're keeping them happy, making sure you're doing the work, all that stuff. So that's that experience in a nutshell. Trying to see if there's anything else I could speak to specifically, about that experience. Yeah, it was just creative collaboration. There was a partner of the agency who was this, I think, entertainment lawyer, and so he knew a lot of like celebrities, celebrity adjacent people who needed help, right? Who needed help with their work and marketing. And so through his connections, through a couple of other connections, we're able to bring in all these people really quickly and build the value of the company really, really quickly. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So could you go into the values piece? That's a big
Yeah.
part of who you are.
So I'll be very mindful of how I explain the values piece, because the reason being, it's not a judgment of anyone. It's just a difference in where you place importance.
Mm,
So one of the things I believe in is the dignity of every single person you come across. I believe that every single person is inherently entitled to a basic level of respect, regardless of who they are society wise, or where society places them on its own way, sometimes twisted way of placing importance on people, right? So, and that includes me, right? I was having another conversation yesterday, and we talked about how, the two most important commandments in the Bible: love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So the love has to start with the love of self.
mm,
And when you have a love and appreciation for self, then you can pass that love and appreciation to your neighbor, right? And in a nutshell, the difference there was that there was a lack of, I think, even awareness of the fact that people, no matter who they are or where you consider or how important you consider them on your social strata, whatever way that the world categorizes people, are entitled to a basic sense of dignity, respect, care, love, empathy. You take care of the people around you emotionally, mentally, physically, as much as you can. There was a disregard for that, and more of an importance was placed on the functioning of the company at the expense of people. So that's just it in a nutshell, right? So more importance was placed on the company, and just making sure the company continues to run at the expense of the people who are running the company and pushing the company forward. Sometimes it was personal, sometimes it was other people, right? Sometimes it was other people, and yeah, that was it in a nutshell. That's it. Just didn't sit right with me, and what I've come to learn is when you're in certain situations and you remain in those situations, you are unknowingly complicit in those
mm,
situations. You are unknowingly supporting a system that encourages certain behaviors, certain attitudes, and so you're complicit. And I just didn't want to become. That's not something I would be proud to have been complicit in.
mm.
So, yeah, that's it.
Wow. And this has also been a trend for you to like. I really admire this about you. I mean, so you mentioned this from the agency side, but you also mentioned this from Hollywood. I have a brother that's in Hollywood as well, and and that's where a lot of people want to be. They want to and not just be, stay.
Yeah.
And as you shared, we're not demonizing Hollywood necessarily, but we're saying that your values superseded
Mhm.
even the very allure and nature. I'm sure they were taking care of you,
Yep.
most likely from a producer's standpoint. I'm sure there's Hollywood
Mhm.
people you get to connect with, and the who's who, what kind of strong value you have, strong values to be able to just say, I'm going to exit this,
Yeah.
and probably in the height of it too. I'm assuming.
Yeah. It was similar. So it was very similar to what happened. And we all have our histories. We all have our traumas. We all have things we've been through in this world. I don't think that gives anyone an excuse to treat people badly, though.
Mm,
It's something that I'm very adamant about. I feel like if we all learn to heal ourselves, then we'll be in a better position to love our neighbors like we love ourselves, like I said, right? If we
yeah.
all learn to heal whatever issues that we've had, whatever has happened, heal ourselves, then we are better positioned to fulfill, literally, like when in the Bible, when I think someone had asked Jesus Christ, what's the most important commandment? And he said, it's love, right? Literally just love. And if we all learn to heal ourselves, we'll be in a better position to do that for other people. And so where came to Hollywood, there were all these wounded people, right? And I could see that they were wounded, but the it doesn't give the way they behave toward other people an excuse to be. It's not an excuse. An example is I'm in therapy, right? And it's something I'm very open about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clinical therapy, you could be in spiritual therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some of us, your pastors are your therapists, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be in all of them, right? So I do clinical, I do the spiritual, all that stuff, right? Like I literally just had therapy a couple of hours ago before we hopped on this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my attempt to heal myself so I don't hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And because we can really damage people when we're wounded. It's like I said, hurt people hurt people.
That's right.
And and so I think it's the response if everyone, a book I'd recommend people reading is The Power of Now. And The Power
Mm-hmm.
of Now again talks about, the universal mind and how a lot of us, because we're so wounded, pollute the world with our woundedness. And I believe that. I believe that that's true. And so I believe it's important, if you care about the world or humanity, it's important for each of us to aim for some sort of healing of our wounds so that we
Mm-hmm.
don't wound other people. And so with Hollywood, the notch in a nutshell, going back to Hollywood, is there are just a lot of wounded people in Hollywood, and they're carrying on and spreading those wounds and harming and hurting other people, and seeing people as just tools to help them reach their goals instead of as full-fleshed human beings. Relationships in Hollywood are very transactional, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
superficial. I can't remember. The only friendships I had in Hollywood that lasted were friendships that I made with people who weren't from the United States, people from other countries. So my
Mm-hmm.
Italian friend comes to mind, and my Nigerian friend comes to mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's just very superficial, very surface level, and people are just tools. And again, that didn't sit right with me. So.
Mm. So, we kind of mentioned it, but what are your core values,
Hmm.
and why are they important to you?
I think if you ask me in a nutshell what my core values are, I feel my core values are anything that nurtures humanity. And I say the word nurture because I feel like I'm a nurturer. I feel like I'm a very nurturing person in the way that I approach life in general. So my core values will fall under the umbrella of anything that nurtures humanity,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's nurturing humanity mentally, whether it's nurturing humanity, through business, right? Business, as a business coach, anything that furthers and heals and nurtures humanity is where my core values lie. So I put a lot of value in people. I
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of value in people. And that's not to say I'm perfect. We all make mistakes.
For sure.
But your ability to identify your mistakes and repair them, right, is what makes us continue. It's like, we can talk about this because we both know Dr. Myron. He says where there, I'm trying to put it the way he does, but no one can put anything the way Myron does. But basically, what he was trying to say is where there are people, there's conflict, and so
Mm-hmm.
but your ability to resolve that conflict without harming people irreparably is
Mm-hmm.
what nurtures and continues to allow humanity to grow. So I put a lot of value in people in general, just people,
Yeah.
and nurturing their dignity as people. The more that I feel, and I have a natural instinct to be more drawn to people who I feel are more in danger. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that's about, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's it in general.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, as I look through, right, and you're running your agency, and in the content clinic, and there's so many threads I'm seeing as I'm weaving it all, your story all together, from the creativity side
Yeah,
to from a child, the writing, right, with from the producer in Hollywood, the business acumen to build up a business in 90 days, and it kind of like cumulatively comes together, and produces this amazing business that you're building. But we're going to talk about the content clinic. Also a trend and a thread I see through it is your discipline, your work ethic. Right, this is something that's not talked about. Right, the this to get to the levels that you've attained, there was a lot of hard work put in. There's a lot of sleepless nights. You
yeah,
mentioned going to, you know, from the animation side, working tirelessly.
yeah,
So, if you could speak to the development that it takes
yeah.
to produce in any realm, in every realm that you've been in.
So I think one thing. that I've been able to identify about myself is my word is my bond. If I say something, I will do that thing. So where that comes into play is if I tell a client you're gonna have this at da 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 da, it has to happen. It just has to happen, right? So so I just have to do it somehow. I don't know how, but it's just gonna have to happen. So that's the first thing. My word is my bond. And then most recently, I've been able to find that my discipline and motivation, whatever you want to call it, comes from understanding of understanding and sitting more comfortably in my purpose, knowing why I'm here. And so and the beauty of knowing why you're here and sitting in your purpose is that no matter how difficult objectively something might be, it doesn't feel difficult anymore because you know that the result is worth it. So I shared a YouTube video a couple of weeks back, and it was basically, yeah, nothing's difficult as long as the end result is worth it, right? So
Mm.
you know why you're here. You know,
Sorry, that's good. You gotta say that again. That's so powerful.
nothing is difficult as long as the end result is worth it, right? So
Mm.
it's like literally nothing's difficult. So another example, I was tired last night because for the past 3 days I've been trying to launch a challenge, and I've been working on my funnels and all that stuff. My eyes were hurting, headaches, and I still edited my podcast last night, right? And I scheduled it to go out at 5 a.m. this morning, because that's when I released my podcast, right? And again, it was just that thought that it's not difficult because this is me sitting in my purpose. This is me living in my purpose, right? And then I think drive is another thing. I'm a very driven person. Um, you just, I just know that I'm here for something more. And I've always believed I was here for something more. The challenge has just always been, what am I here for? Right? Like figuring out what exactly I'm here for and how to express that. But I've always believed that I'm here for something more. So I've always been very driven. And so yeah, so I don't mind work. Literally, I don't mind work. And I said this to my therapist earlier too. Like, I don't mind work. Usually, you know what makes work difficult, David? It's people who make work difficult. When you're not working around the right people, that's when work becomes difficult. Because work itself for me is nothing. I will
Mm.
keep late all nighters. I will work late. I don't mind doing all that as long as I'm around the right people.
Mm.
But if
That's
I'm
good.
among the wrong people, that's when the exhaustion comes. Like they exhaust me, not the work. You know.
Right.
So yeah. So my word is my bond, drive, and just sitting in my purpose. Those are the three things.
Beautifully stated. I've never heard it from that perspective before. Very, very enlightening. So, talk to us about the content clinic because this is the marketing mind, the accumulation of everything that you do, and I've viewed through some of your content. It's really, really impressive, and obviously you've been able to build an audience that thinks the same and
Yeah.
fast, quick, in a hurry.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about that and how this was birthed and the growth and all of that.
So it's funny again. It's like I think it's through that connection to infinite intelligence, God, whatever you call it. Like all these ideas just drop in your mind, and then there's one that just sticks, right? It's like that's the one. That's the one. That's how the content clinic came to me. So the content clinic is basically a group of businesses, of offers, and our goal is to help people attract the right audiences for their businesses, for what they do. So I came up with this illustration about how you're here and there's a bridge and I'm here. And that bridge is literally marketing. And marketing is just any system of activities that place you in front of the people who need your help so you can serve your purpose. Like literally, that's what marketing is. Because I know marketing has this like negative connotation now, but it's just like you have a purpose, you have people to serve. That marketing is the bridge between you and those people, right?
Right.
So under the content clinic, and I came up with this other quote, which is marketing is the growth engine of a business, and content is the cornerstone of marketing. You can't
Mm-hmm.
have great marketing without great content.
Mm.
So under the content clinic, what we do is we help work on the content and make sure that the content's great, the words, and content, under the umbrella of content, copy, words, social media, all that stuff. So everything content related, we make sure it's great. We make sure that it's speaking to the right audiences. And most recently, as I suggested earlier, I hinted at earlier, I'm launching something that will serve specifically people who are where I was years ago, or even most recently, people who are stuck in jobs they hate. I strongly believe that the reason you hate the job, like your boss may be telling you it's because you're lazy. Like several bosses have told me in the past, but I'm like, no. And it came from a sense of self. I'm like, no, I'm not lazy. I love to work. The problem is I'm working with you. but, um, but yeah, so I believe that when you're uncomfortable in a place, in a workplace or whatever, it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you don't want to work, it's because there's something about that place that's out of alignment with who you're meant to be. And that is infinite intelligence calling out to you, letting you know that it's time to leave that place,
Mm.
right? Even if it was great at some point, infinite intelligence is letting you know it's time. It's time to get on to the next thing. And most of us live our lives in fear. We stay stuck in that situation. And then we're looking back a couple of years later and you're full of regrets. Because that's the thing with infinite intelligence and purpose. It'll keep calling, right? So my goal is to take what I have, marketing, content, all that stuff, and help people who are in that place where they become dissatisfied, they feel unappreciated, they feel out of alignment with where they are as jobs, and help use what I know to help them leave those situations by helping them establish what they're meant to be doing and what's more in alignment with their purpose.
Mm. Beautiful. So you really help them. So really, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm analyzing it.
Yeah.
So you really help people deal with their identity and their person and who they are, and the content is a byproduct of that. Is that
Perfect.
okay?
Perfect. The content, marketing, storytelling, those are just tools. At the end of the day, I'm helping you be more in an alignment with your purpose. That's just
Mm,
it. I'm just helping you. I feel like, like God has given us different ways to use that to help people. For me, it's marketing, it's content, it's, all that stuff, storytelling. But my
mm,
my goal is to get people more in alignment with their purpose, pretty much, and help them
beautiful.
live happier, more fulfilled lives.
I love it. So you got to tell us about this IG. How? I mean, that's for a lot of people listening. That's a hard one to crack, right? They've
Yeah,
been trying to do it. Obviously they could pay some get some bot following, but you're talking about authentic follower base.
yeah.
How did you do that?
It was
10K in 100 days. That's not easy.
three pillars: consistency, community, conversions, right? So I was very focused on building great content, as you can probably see when you go on my page. Great content that helped me express my thought leadership, my experiences, everything that came together to make me who I am. And then community, I was very focused on building meaningful community, which meant I was always commenting on my post, I was commenting on other people's posts, I was, what people call engaging. But for me, again, I there needs to be meaning behind everything I do. So I learned to reframe certain things so that it makes meaning, it has meaning for me. So instead of just engagement, it was just about building community. And I was very authentic in the way that I approached building community and very intentional in the way that I approached building community. And then naturally the conversions will come. Once you had those two things,
Mm,
content, community, the conversions will come naturally as a byproduct of staying true to content. The last part though, which is the bonus part, which is where a lot of people fall off, is consistency.
mm,
The last C, consistency is where a lot of people fall off. And this doesn't just apply to content. It applies to life in general. I feel like the main thing that stands between people who succeed, get to where they want to be, and people who don't is consistency. That's
mm,
the biggest test. The
mm,
biggest test anyone can go through is how willing are you to stay at this thing, no matter how much it looks like it's not working?
mm,
How willing are you to stay at it to get to where you want to be? How important is that
mm,
destination to you? Right? So another story that comes to mind, I remember Dr. Myron told us a story about how I think it was an insurance salesperson or something like that. And
mhm.
he had made a sale in a year, but he was still trying. Can you imagine how many people try something for like a month and they're like, oh, it's not working, I'm out. Right?
Big time.
And that's it, right? So it's just like consistency. How important is that destination to you? I heard something the other day. It said the person who loves walking will go further than the person who loves the destination.
Mm,
Fall in love with the process, regardless of how unrewarding the process might seem in the beginning. Fall in love with the process because you literally can't rush the process if you want to legitimately succeed.
mm,
Legitimately, like you can take shortcuts and succeed illegitimately, but if you want to succeed legitimately, you have to go through the process, and that
mm.
includes the way that you approach your content as well.
That is gold, 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 gold. Oh man, Cynthia, I could talk to you for hours, hours and hours. Um, one of the final questions we asked, I'm like definitely, I think we need to do part two, like seriously. Um, but one of the final questions we always ask people um, is, what is the difference between one's gift and one's purpose?
I think your purpose is the destination, your gift is how you get there.
Mm,
Think that's the difference. That's what I can think about right now. So your purpose is that thing you're meant to do. Your gift is how you're meant to do it, the process
mm.
you use to do it. So yeah.
Gold. I love it. I love it. So, Cynthia, people that want to connect with you and learn about more about the Content Clinic, um, purchase or take advantage of the offers that you have, how should they do that, and what offerings do you have available for people?
I have a range of offerings. So there's a content clinic community, and then there are other ways that I can help you depending on where you are in business. So my best advice is reach out to me on Instagram at Cynthia Dieyi. Reach out to me on Instagram. We'll have a conversation. We'll figure out where you are in business. Also, if my message about quitting situations that don't serve you anymore resonated with you, I am coming up with I called it the Fire Your Boss Challenge. Um,
Ooh,
right? So if that's something that resonated with you and you feel like my time here is done and I need to like get back on track with my purpose and what I'm meant to do in this world, then just DM me and just say wait list, like literally wait list, because I'm building a wait list for that and it's growing fast. Say wait list and I will go from there. That's it.
beautiful, beautiful. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on for the people?
I just want the people to know that they're powerful. They're way more powerful than they think they are. Release their fears, because literally, and everyone has said this, every religion, every ancient wisdom has said it in some form or the other. Everything you've ever dreamed of is on the other side of fear. And I've seen that that's true. Like literally, I always jump before I even know there's somewhere to land. That's been the theme in my own life. Like I quit
Mhm.
my job in LA without knowing what I was gonna do next. So literally the other job, like I just quit and then, like a month later I recovered. If I can do it, jump off the hill or whatever without knowing where I'll land, without a landing pad, you can do it too. So just understand that you're God buddy. Like literally, like for me, when I think about that, I'm like, there's nothing that's impossible.
Wow.
And for people who are Christians, I know that a lot of people who listen to this podcast will be very Christian leaning. The main difference between Jesus Christ and us right now is Jesus Christ knew 150% he was the Son of God. And so there was no doubt in his mind. And that's how he was able to perform all those miracles. But our connection to God there's an interference between us and our connection to God. And the interference is the world, the noise, all
Mhm.
that stuff, right? And it's a continuous process, even for me, to continue to close or um, to continue to eliminate the interference and understand and sit in my power as a child of God. But
Mhm.
it's a process that's worth embarking on. It's a journey that's worth embarking on and just reconnecting with your power as a child of God. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I feel like that's your next book title. Eliminate the interference.
Yeah. Woo! I love it. I love
That's
it. I love it. I love it.
Oh man, Cynthia, you dropped the gems, the fire. Thank you for blessing the people today. Truly blessing me. I know lives will be impacted from this episode. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, David. I appreciate you. Appreciate the opportunity. It's been an
Yeah.
honor.